Now, we're going to look through the papers, actually. Have a look at the front pages in a second. Former Conservative Minister Edwina Currie is here to take us through the stories that have caught your eye this morning. And Edwina, you are well placed to deal with some of the stories this morning. We'll have a quick look at the front pages so first. Morning.
Yeah, let's look at the front page of the Times. There's a great picture there of some pink sheep. You haven't had some sort of strange dream overnight. They've been sprayed pink, and they're saying it's a sign that that spring is on its way. And they've got an interesting story here from Porton Down, the military MOD labs in Wiltshire, saying that evidence has been found that chemical weapons of some kind, unclear what kind, but some kind, have been used in Syria in recent weeks.
Lots of discussion in the papers about the BBC and what it's going to do about this song, which is going up the charts. And The Sun have done an interesting front page on it. They found an original Munchkin who sang the song, and that's their headline: Munchkin fury at Maggie Ding Dong song.
And the Daily Mail's front page is about the Diana, Princess of Wales Memorial Fund, and claims in that paper that that money has been hijacked by the left for a campaign to support and promote immigration. Hijacked by the left, it says.
Edwina, you're going to talk about something that's been going through the courts, actually, this morning. Not this morning, but over the last couple of weeks or so.
Yes, indeed. This is about The Apprentice, who Stella English, who did very well in the reality programme, went to work for Lord Sugar, and eventually sued him for unfair dismissal, and she has lost the case. And indeed, I loved it because the tribunal said that she had the wrong idea about how glamorous or otherwise the role would be. She thought she was going to be in Lord Sugar's private jet, and this didn't actually happen. I've done a couple of reality programmes, and what you have to realise is that it's a television programme. You know, you're not going to end up being whatever it is the headline programme is. She was not going to learn.
You're not going to end up being a professional dancer.
You're not going. If you're in Strictly, you're not going to end up being a professional dancer. If you go into it realising it's a lot of fun, Louise, you will do very well. I promise you. And similarly, if you go in for a bake-off programme, a Gordon Ramsay, whatever, you're not going to end up learning how to cook. This young woman absolutely had the wrong idea, and suing Lord Sugar has put her badly in the limelight.
I suppose the danger, the difference between The Apprentice and, say, Strictly is that Strictly's for celebrities, and this is for real people trying to get a job. So it's a competition to get a job, and she says that job didn't turn into
but
reality.
the tribunal effectively has said that Miss English thought she was going to end up as a celebrity. And to do Alan Sugar absolute justice, if I may, he wrote to them all during the programme, and he said, the other staff in his office will initially assume you are a waste of space due to The Apprentice, hence earn your wings, which means everyone can see you have got the plot and making decisions that are right. And she didn't.
Interesting. Interesting to see what she does next.
Lots of the papers reacting to Margaret Thatcher's death still. The Daily Telegraph front page, they've got a special tribute section, I think, pull-out section, but their front page story is, I vow to thee, my country, and it's saying that Baroness Thatcher planned her funeral to the tiniest detail.
Allow me to say, as an older person, that planning your funeral is a very good idea. And she has decided that she's going to have a very traditional funeral. I love it. She's even choosing the songs that are going to be played. And it's going to be very, very traditional. It's going to have readings from the King James Version of the Bible, and the other hymns will be To Be a Pilgrim and Love Divine or Love's Excelling. They're going to be recognised by the millions of people who are going to be watching it. And she's insisted there's no eulogy. We are not going to be worshipping Margaret Thatcher in St Paul's. We are going to be worshipping God.
I'm wondering whether she would have known that it would be this sort of so-called ceremonial funeral. Would she have known that that was going to happen or not?
I would have thought so, yes. In fact, it was discussed with people at St Paul's, gather about 7 or 8 years ago, when she was still very capable of doing that. And it's not a bad thing to choose your funeral, to choose your arrangements. We are all entitled to do that. The event is going to be very, very special. I hope it's not marred by too much fuss and row outside. Let's show some respect to somebody who's, I think, served our country extremely well.
It's interesting. It says that one of her chief orders was that David Cameron give a reading. And then it says, not because it's David Cameron or even leader of the Conservative Party, but because she wanted the Prime Minister of the time.
Well, quite right too, and I think it's going to be a rather special event.
Let's talk about MMR, because we found out this morning that this is, outbreak, which it was called in South Wales, has now been called an epidemic. You very much were involved in the MMR jab, and of course Andrew Wakefield, the doctor who was at the centre of much of that controversy, has written in the Independent today. I
think the Independent should be absolutely ashamed of itself, because twice on the front page and in the inside they call Andrew Wakefield a doctor. And he's not a doctor. He was actually struck off, and he was struck off exactly because of this. MMR we brought in 1988-89. I was on the team that did that. It's one of the safest vaccines that's been used. We were actually quite late bringing it in. We vaccinated 2 million children in 6 months. If there had been any problems associated with it, we'd have seen a spike then, and we never did.
He makes a couple of points in there. He says that, and I know you got your own view on that too, but he says that the government removed the licence for single vaccines, so therefore sort of removing choice for parents.
He's talking a load of nonsense. It's not a question. It's not a question really of choice for parents. It's a question of good science. And the good science is that vaccination for a whole host of things is one of the ways that we have healthy populations.
Do you understand?
Now.
I mean, I know
and it's a killer.
You're a mum. Do you understand parents' concerns about vaccination?
No, I don't. I think they're absolutely wrong. And doctors in South Wales and doctors in the rest of the country are making it quite clear. If you're concerned about your child, actually all you need to do is see a child with measles, or see a child who has been suffering brain damage as a result of measles, or the mumps, or rubella, all of which are really quite nasty diseases in their effect. The year we brought this vaccine in, we had 80,000 cases of measles alone and 10 dead children. If you're worried about your child, get your child vaccinated.
Oh, we'll be talking about that shortly, actually. We'll be speaking to a doctor as well in the next few minutes here on Breakfast.
While you're with us, before you go, Edwina, lots of the papers talking about this, the BBC debate and other radio stations, commercial radio debate about whether to play the Ding Dong song. The Mail here saying it's a fudge by the BBC to play 5 seconds and do it as a news story. Where do you stand on it?
They're saying it's a huge victory to the trot. I've never seen anything dafter. As a debate and discussion on the legacy of Margaret Thatcher. It's completely bizarre. And I gather that the BBC are going to play 5 seconds of this song. Margaret would say, play it or don't play it. You know, don't have a consensus. Don't fudge it, for goodness sake. This is nonsense. And I gather there's another song coming up called I'm in Love with Margaret Thatcher, the main words of which are I'm in love with Margaret Thatcher, I'm in love with Maggie T, done by a punk group in 1979.
This is being bought as a kind of antidote to the first one, yeah.
Oh, please. I think she's actually worth a bit more than
the question, I guess the question that is there then, you know, if you only play 5 seconds of the other song, and what do you do with the song, the pro Margaret Thatcher song, Lady Thatcher song? What do you do with that? Because it becomes a sort of tricky area, doesn't it?
I think the millions of Margaret Thatcher's admirers who will be watching the funeral on Wednesday couldn't give a toss either way. They're going to just tend to the funeral that she's planned and feel that she's still there watching them.
Edwina, thank you very much indeed.